Hello everyone, this video considers how the dungeon in Dungeons & Dragons is not necessarily a literal dungeon, but rather it could be any place of an adventure. With this broader understanding of the adventuring environment, what happens with the classic design of a 5-room dungeon? Historically, a donjon referred to the inner tower of a castle or fortification. A later word of dungeon gained a different nuance, referring to a dark prison, usually underground. In the game of Dungeons & Dragons, a dungeon traditionally involves a variation of these themes, but a dungeon could be viewed as any environment where an adventure might occur. In this case, the word dungeon can be misleading. Essentially, the word dungeon now has become synonymous with any kind of adventuring environment. A dungeon design could be understood as an adventure design. In my view, an adventure design shares many similarities with the narrative structure of any fictional story, but especially in the genre of fantasy adventure. The classic 5-room dungeon could be viewed as an arrangement of 5 encounters or challenges. Together, the 5 parts comprise an adventure or mark a milestone within an adventure. The 5 components do not need to be inside rooms of an ancient castle or dungeon. Indeed, they could occur anywhere. Before even starting with the 5 components, the characters would need to find their reasons for being involved in this adventure. In my approach, I provide at least a few different adventuring hooks that could be broad and diverse enough to link with the varieties of personal goals and motivations of the characters. In my view, the adventuring hooks establish the scope of themes that should be consistent with the classic 5 encounters. Encounter 1 typically involves the entrance with some kind of guardian. The entrance could be the door into a castle, the mouth of a cave, or the edge of a forest. The guardian could be literal guards or sentries, but the key point is for something to prevent most people from entering into a space. The characters would face this challenge, overcome it, and make a heroic choice to continue with the adventure further into danger. Encounter 2 typically involves a puzzle or another kind of trial for the characters to exercise more of their skills, abilities, and special features. The characters may need to find and activate a series of levers that in total will open a door. They may need to learn about the spots of quicksand and the habits of carnivorous plants in order to navigate through an area. Encounter 3 typically is a setback for the characters. A trick or a trap can build tension and create a complication for the characters to overcome toward the larger goal. A classic example is finding a trapped tomb and then learning that it is a false tomb with a secret passage leading elsewhere. Encounter 4 typically involves a climax or a major conflict, such as a boss fight. Encounter 5 typically brings a reward and a revelation. The characters solve a mystery or achieve a goal that otherwise had been prevented by the boss type of enemy in the encounter number 4. Now the characters gain the rewards of new knowledge, as well as perhaps treasure and the gaming benefits of leveling up. Additionally, the revelation part could involve something unexpected with a thread leading into a sequel or a continuation of the adventure. The 5-part adventure mostly is about the structure of what happens in a certain order of events. However, the order could be different, especially if the characters will make unexpected decisions or follow a different path. In fact, most dungeon designs or adventure designs deliberately include multiple possible entrances and pathways. With these options, each adventure can develop into a unique story and experience. In my designs, I like to use generalized zones, especially in open outdoors terrain or wilderness environments. The characters could approach through whatever pathways that they wish, but they always will pass through a series of zones. Depending on what the characters do with a particular zone, the challenge here could be more difficult, less difficult, or potentially avoided entirely. In each of the 5 encounters, I'd like to include options for the characters to exercise the 3 classic pillars of exploration, social interaction, and combat. One of those options will be the most obvious way to succeed in each encounter, but the characters always could decide differently. I hope that I have shown some of the ways to adapt the classic 5-room dungeon design to be applicable more generally and in any kind of fantasy adventure. Now I wonder, in Dungeons & Dragons, if a dungeon could be any adventuring environment, then what about dragons? According to this logic, perhaps the definition of a dragon could be reconsidered.
I interrupt this video on behalf of my fellow dragons. I must denounce the corrupted and diluted use of the word dragon to refer to any other kind of monster or character. Dragons always have been and always will be the world's most powerful creatures. No other living being ever could compare with the might, the magic, and the majesty of any dragon. In the next video, I will seize control of this YouTube channel to share my advice to dragons to be the dominant creatures they always were intended to be. Meanwhile, I will accept your tribute in the comment section.